Hi everyone, welcome back to a discussion of The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. This is week 1, day 4. I am Yvonne Davis and this is David Steele. We're both accredited facilitators with Rocky Mountain Compassionate Communication Network, and we teach and counsel in nonviolent communication based on the work of Marshall Rosenberg. So today we are going to divert just slightly from this book, although really it's not a diversion because week 1 is about recovering a sense of safety. And what we're going to talk about today is totally related to recovering a sense of safety. So I want to share with you something that happened to me. It was after I did a wonderful video with my friend Tracy on core negative beliefs. And for some reason that evening, I ended up getting really triggered and a lot of fear was coming up.
What do you mean by triggered?
What I mean is that I was in a really good mood. I was totally enjoying my time with Tracy because I hadn't seen her in almost a year. And it was just like old friends coming back together, like no time had passed at all. And she was helping me celebrate my birthday. She brought over lunch for us, and she gave me a present. So I was just, in such a great mood, and we had fun doing the video, and everything was going well. And then all of a sudden, I felt this sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, and this was after she had left. It was sometime in the evening. I felt this sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach and like heavy weight on my chest, and I just like my whole outlook on life just got really dark all of a sudden, and a lot of fear came up. And that's what I mean by triggered. That because I guess I need to give a little bit of background on the way that we tend to view life through the prism of nonviolent communication. We acknowledge that our reality is our story. There is a shared reality. For example, David and I are in a shared reality about making a video, and we hope that you're in a shared reality about watching it and what's being said and so on and so forth. But then there's another part of how we experience reality, which is the way we view it through our own particular perspectives. Like we look through a particular lens, and through that lens we shape our worldview, and that's our story. And so there's no objective reality that was causing me fear. There were things that were happening, but the fact that I was feeling fear wasn't necessarily caused by anything outside of me. So there was something inside of me, some core belief or some story that
So I have a question.
got triggered.
Yeah, so you just had a wonderful time with Tracy, and you were working on core limiting beliefs, and you had really enjoyed the day. So the question that comes up is there some core limiting belief that it's not okay to have too much fun? That if things are going too well, something has to happen to, quote, bring you down to earth, unquote?
Well, it's not a core negative belief that I've ever identified, but the thing about core negative beliefs is that we usually can't see them. They run our lives. They're part of, those shaded glasses, whatever you want to call them, rose-colored glasses. They're the lens through which we view our life. And our core negative beliefs form those lenses, that perspective. And so we usually can't see it. So whenever someone asks you a question like that, it's better not to automatically say no, but to sit with it for a little while and just let it kind of see how it resonates in the body before you make a quick judgment about it.
Okay, so when you use the word triggered, Was there a specific event at the moment that what was happening in your environment, if you can recall, at the moment you got that sinking feeling in your stomach?
Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to use this as an example of the process that we go through in NVC. I had mentioned that before. We call it OFNR, observation, feelings, needs, and requests. And that's part of the process of self-empathy as well. So because I'm trained in that, my mind went to that immediately. And so what I did was I actually wrote down the observable facts of what happened that evening. So the first thing was that I wrote down was that I got an email from my professor who was teaching one of my classes in the master's degree in creative writing, and I had gotten an A- instead of an A, and I was feeling disappointed about that and wondered why, because she had told me that I was one of her best students. So she sent me an email and told me it was because my final portfolio was turned in late, which was true. I had misread the deadline and I turned it in late. And I explained that to her, but she said that based on the rules, she had to deduct my grade. So I felt a lot of mourning around that because the master's degree really matters to me. And so it triggered that mourning that came up again. And
so before you go to the second thing, at that point, you didn't have that sinking feeling yet. You had grief. You had regret that things had happened the way they happened.
Yeah, I think it was the culmination of the whole list of things that happened all within a very short period of time.
Right. Okay, so we're not to that sinking feeling. I'm deliberately wanting to hone in on exactly the instant that sinking feeling happens. So
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the other thing that happened was I have a...
Did this happen immediately? You said this happened in a short period of time. So yeah. What's the time?
Within 24 hours. All of these things happened within a 24-hour span. So the next thing was that I have a job right now. I was self-employed for 9 years, and then I traveled for a year. And when I came back, while I'm rebuilding my business, I have taken a job working 40 hours a week. And I found out that after the holidays, I would be cut back to 32 hours. And so that triggered a little bit of fear as well. But it didn't bring in that sinking feeling yet. And
okay, so you could say that these were like props that made it fertile for you to be triggered, but they weren't the trigger.
Yeah. And then another thing that happened was I have tried to use the DVD on both my PC and my laptop, and neither one is working now since the latest Microsoft update. And I cannot say this factually, but I'm pretty sure that it was the reason the DVD in both of these computers is not working is because of the update. There's no hardware problem. It's a software problem. And but even that still didn't bring on the sinking feeling. And then a fourth thing that happened was that a client that I had done work for, I was looking forward to being paid by that, and for some reason have not been paid. It's been very slow, much slower than I would have liked. So that was a little bit upsetting to me too, especially in combination with the loss of income from the full-time job. So these two things were financial setbacks. So
you're dealing with the grade. Mm-hmm. You have the frustration around the computer. Mm-hmm. You have the loss of income, and at the same mm-hmm. time, you have a client that's being very slow paying you. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So all of those things happened within 24 hours, and then I went home and I went to bed, and because I had just moved back to Denver and didn't want to completely furnish my studio apartment with expensive furniture while I'm rebuilding my business, I had bought an air mattress. And after 3 months, the air mattress deflated while I was sleeping. So I woke up on a very hard surface in a very bad mood. And I would say that the realization of the air mattress deflating, that's when I really got triggered. I think that's when it just really, it all hit me.
And you woke up. When you woke up, you were in that bad mood. You were already triggered. It wasn't like you were,
right.
You just woke up in that bad mood.
Yeah, because the fact is that I had spent 8 hours in a very uncomfortable sleep. Right. Because I could tell that the air mattress was deflating. It was becoming less and less comfortable over the course of the night. So I woke up in a very bad mood. And then the last thing is, this is probably for me the thing that would trigger me the least, but it was the sixth thing within a 24-hour period. And it was just like, I just couldn't handle one more thing going wrong. And so I was frustrated because I have been trying to lose some weight and I've plateaued, and my weight just bounces between 3 numbers. It just goes down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up. And it was just like the last straw. And I was just so
nothing is going right.
Right.
Oh my, and now this too.
Yeah.
God. Okay.
So then I had, like I said, it was really that morning. I just had this terrible sinking feeling that all my plans are going to fall into ruin. And not only that, not only will I be a failure, but I will probably go broke and end up getting evicted because I won't be able to pay my bills. And so I was really spiraling down.
And so you were, you had a story in your head that was anticipating future events, and that caused tremendous anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm guessing the story couldn't shut off, that it kept cycling through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
So the second thing I did was to acknowledge that I was in fear, and to acknowledge that it's an emotional state, that the emotion is information that my body is giving me. It's not, and it's also a story. It's connected to a story that I'm telling myself.
So fear is a fairly generic feeling. Can you be more discerning? Come up with some other descriptive words of feelings that are pinpoint more accurately what you were feeling. Dread.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopelessness.
Hopelessness.
Mm-hmm. Anger. There's some anger. Yeah.
All right.
Is that enough?
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That paints that gives me a much richer sense of what was happening.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't have time in the morning to really explore all this. So when I got to work, when I was on my lunch break, that's when I wrote down why was I hit with fear? And I wrote down the 6 observable things that happened that I think triggered the fear. So I had done the first 2 steps of the OFNR, the observation and the feelings. So the next thing in the self-empathy process is to go on to the needs. What needs was I longing to meet? And my guess is, just like Julia Cameron starts with recovering a sense of safety, I think that's one of the first needs that I was longing to meet, was a sense of safety. I just wanted to know I'm safe in the world. And also, I would say a need for confidence.
Did you do anything to recover? Did you just come up with that need of safety, or did you take any action yet? Or were you just identifying what you're yearning for?
I think that I did it sort of almost on a subconscious, nonverbal level. That I wasn't necessarily thinking of the words. It was more like I was imagining what I would feel if my needs were met.
Okay.
So
you were recollecting what safety feels like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. And what impact did that have?
It started to lift my mood, especially when I wrote down these 6 observable things. That it like gave me a sense of power in my world, you know?
So kind of like it's not necessarily anything wrong with me. I mean, look at I got slammed from 6 directions, you know.
Right.
Anyone would flip out.
Yeah.
From a day like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
So, yeah, I just started to connect with what it would feel like to have those needs met. So a feeling of safety, security, confidence, and power in my world, and resourcefulness. Those, I think, were the needs that I was longing to meet.
Right. Resourcefulness, power,
Mm-hmm.
of course.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So then I moved on to strategies.
So I have a request.
Mm-hmm.
As we're moving into strategies, can you pause the video for a second?
Okay.
And hit pause, not... Okay, so Yvonne, having gone through what I would describe as a self-connection process, first, by making that list, can you hold up your list again of the 6 things that happened that was very grounding, that put you in connection with what was happening in your world, and helped you realize, wow, a lot really has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then to get in touch with the feelings that you were having, the dread, the hopelessness, and out of that realizing you really long for power in your world, and the ability to have impact. So having put all that together, what did you do? Because those are all things that kind of happen inside. They don't necessarily flow through our hands. So what is it that you then did after you connected with all of that stuff?
Well, then I made a to-do list. I mean, I brainstormed a list of ways to, let me see. I said, I brainstormed the fastest way I can increase my income.
Okay.
And I just listed a bunch of things.
Right.
And then that also helped me to feel better. And then I overheard the manager where I work telling another employee because all of our hours were cut back to 32. I heard the manager telling this other employee that if he wanted to get, well, I guess he was also experiencing some concern around that. And the manager said, oh, there'll always be shifts to pick up. So you can always go and pick up shifts. And then I realized, oh, okay, I could pick up a shift too. I could still work 40 hours. For all I know, maybe it's even okay to work overtime. So I actually realized that a lot of the things that I was, and then I also bought a new air mattress for $22. And so I guess I wrote to my professor, and I talked to her about my feelings, not in a way that would, I was totally taking responsibility, that it's my responsibility to meet those deadlines and to be aware of them when she clearly posted them. I just wanted to share with her some things that really mattered to me, and she wrote back, and we had some really, really good connection in those 2 emails. And
so I'm noticing that you took really simple but concrete actions that pulled the stuff out of your head, and oh my God, this is happening, that actually addressed it, getting a replacement air mattress, discovering that you could pick up extra shifts, and talking with your professor. All of those were actions you took that
I think I maybe did one more thing. I don't remember the order of everything, But I know that I sent another email to my client, and I wanted to make sure that she had all the information I said that I would send to her, that she was able to open the files with no problem. And I said also I will send a reminder from PayPal so that you'll have everything from me. And that'll be really convenient for you. And so that was another action that I took.
Right. So there's something about getting stuff out of just being in our minds and twirling and twirling and twirling and actually doing something with our bodies that has an impact on our world that really helped regain that sense of safety. So, you know, you're doing the artist's way. And art, it's about expressing what's alive in us. It's about expressing what we care about. And it's all, art is all about action, in that, you know, there's reflection, there's inspiration, but it becomes art when we somehow release it from our body into something physical that exists. And that physicality somehow carries some of the life that's in us when we're creating it. And absolutely counters feelings of helplessness and hopelessness because we're able to make stuff happen. So this really does apply to the artist's way.
Yeah.
And that sense of safety, you had to, what I'm hearing is you had to ground in and really take a dispassionate look at these are the events that happen, rather than being, oh my God, how could they do that to me? And what an unjust world. How could this possibly, I'm a good person, I don't deserve this. Instead of doing all of that, you're like, okay, this is what happened. Oh, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Wow, look at all that happened. No wonder I got upset. And then to just really connect with what at the root of that upsetness was, with wanting power in your world, to not be helpless.
Oh, there was one other thing I forgot. I missed,
Let's remember now.
I missed another deadline. It was to pay a credit card bill. And so it said you had to pay by midnight on that day, Eastern time. And I paid just after 10 p.m. Mountain time. And so I thought I would get a late fee. And so, but when I checked the card, I didn't see any late fee. So if they do charge me a late fee before the next payment is due, I will call them and ask if they'd be willing to refund it, because I've never missed a payment before. So, but see, that's the thing, is like, there was a lot going on. There's no surprise I got triggered.
Yeah, and not only that, though, you took action. You know, you didn't wallow or give up or blame. That's another thing that's really important about creating that sense of safety, is when we resort to blame, then we're putting the influence outside of us, exterior to who we are, and that reinforces helplessness. So if we don't blame and say, just how am I reacting, what's going on inside of me, then that enhances our resourcefulness. And it's all about connecting so that the action we take is in congruence, you know, with what we yearn for. So for example, you got in touch with your yearning for power in your world and you took these actions. Someone else might have said, oh man, this is just too much. And they would have gone to the bar and got drunk and then found themselves in an even deeper hole and more despair. So, but, you know, by self-connecting rather than avoiding, that's why I brought that up. Getting drunk is a strategy for avoiding what's going on. This is too much. I just can't deal with this. By looking at it and that dispassionate way that you looked at, this is what happened, is really important, being able to look at it so there's not as much of a charge. Then that enables you to come up with actions that express that yearning for power in your world. And then that reestablishes that sense of safety. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I also took action related to the DVD problem. Now, it didn't specifically solve that problem, but it solved my immediate problem, which is that I needed to watch a specific film for my master's degree in creative writing. And I had the DVD from the library that I wanted to watch on my computer. And since I couldn't play it on my computer because of the software problem, I checked online, and I could probably get it for free, but I can also get it for $2.90 through YouTube. So that, you know, I think, and even the one about losing weight, I bought a supplement that's supposed to help with weight loss. So I don't know if it will, but I did take action on every one of these items.
Right.
And I agree with you that the taking of the action it's almost like that is the cure.
It is. And it starts with a single step, because all of the actions you took, if you'd listed them all out, maybe it would have seemed overwhelming. How am I going to do all this? So just starting with one simple thing and taking one action, then will lead to another action, which can lead to another action, so that we don't have to feel the weight of the whole universe. You know, Atlas carries the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's trapped by it. And sometimes it feels like that, like, God, I got this heavy burden I got to carry. And I don't dare. What am I going to do? The whole world will fall apart. That's what you said. You were afraid your whole world was going to fall apart, and you ended up destitute, you know, because of these things, you know. But that's the little child, because in The Artist's Way, she talks about the child. That's at the source of our creativity. That's the child reacting. Like, oh my God, my whole world's going to fall apart. I'm not safe. And by going through the observations of what happens and get in touch with the yearning, then that reassures that child. And it helps regain that sense of safety. And then that child is the source of our innovation, our creativity, and you were able to mount effort that ameliorated the distress. I like fancy words sometimes.
So, I think, does that feel like a good stopping point?
It feels like a great stopping point.
Okay. All right. So that completes day 4 of The Artist's Way. And I think in the next 3 days, I know for sure we want to talk about affirmations. And then at the end of the week, we want to do a check-in. So I just want to give you a reminder, please subscribe to this channel, ring the bell, comment if you want to. I would love to hear all of your comments, and share this video. And I will have a link below to my website, so I hope you'll check out my companion blog. Anything else?
Live long and prosper.
Thank you. See you soon.